Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Nick Pedersen. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to be looking at the Strymon Iridium versus the UA Dream, Ruby, and Lion. Going to be shooting them out, seeing what the different modes are, and then just basically figuring out which one is the best to buy today. Hey guys, it's Nick Pedersen back for basically the first video you'll see from my channel. As you know, this is kind of something I'm trying to start, if I can, when I have time, just kind of post videos of things that are going through my head. I wish I had more time to do it more because it's something I really enjoy, but basically hoping every week, maybe every 2 weeks at the most. That's kind of my aim for videos, so it's basically just going to be going through guitar, bass gear, recording stuff, Logic Pro, couple videos probably coming out. The next one is most likely going to be about the UA Spark program, which is basically where the inspiration for this video came from. So anyways, today I'm playing my Made in Mexico Telecaster. It has a Filtertron pickup in it from a brand called McNelly, which is in Peterborough, which is around the area I live. Other than that, it's stock. It does have 12 through 62 strings on it, and it's tuned to baritone, so it sounds like this. So that's B standard, basically. Just something fun I've been playing around with. Maybe we'll do another video on kind of how you make a standard guitar sound like a baritone. But yeah, so today we're going to be comparing the Dream, Ruby, and Lion versus the Iridium. Some pros and cons of each. What I would recommend to basically someone who is in maybe a small startup band or just does stuff at home. And then what I would basically recommend for someone who is just kind of at home all the time. So basically the Iridium is been around for a long time. It's an amp and cab IR. It has a room feature, which is basically the sound of their made up reverb, which is basically just if you were standing in the room with the amp or the cab, which does sound really cool, but it's not technically reverb. The Dream, Ruby, and Lion are all part of the UA Spark program, which is like $120 Canadian, which is who I am, or like $99 US a year. So you get all of that and way more. So it's just kind of something I've recently purchased for recording and mixing and playing around with. So I thought, it's probably something good to demo. What are these three versus the Iridium? So obviously to start, yes, you could buy the Dream, the Ruby, and the Lion, the pedal version of them, and compare them to the Iridium, which might be a better comparison. But to do that, you'd be spending an astronomical amount, and it wouldn't make any sense. So I bought this Iridium for, I think, $350 Canadian, which is like pennies in the US. So it was used, but it does everything I wanted up until now, which I have the UA Spark to do more. So we're just basically going to do some sound samples, go between one and the other, show you my opinion. We're going to start everything clean. You can see the Iridium there on my phenomenal pedal camera. So we'll start with the Dream. So it's just basically telly on the neck position right into the interface. And that is it. We are in stereo today, but I believe the amps summit to mono. Some of them do. So this is the Dream on the clean channel. I'll bring it up here so you guys can see what we're running. So it's just to the left there. You can see the volume's down to 1. We're on the bright channel. Treble, bass, everything right in the middle. The reverb is not on, as you can see, and then the speed and intensity are at 0. So anyways, this is basically the stock sound for a Fender Deluxe 65. So as you can tell, very clean, very kind of almost direct sounding. There's not a lot of tone going on from the amp. So basically, the first thing that I would do is turn the amp up, get it to drive a little bit more. But let's just now compare what the Dream, so on the clean channel, is compared to the Iridium. So we're going to flick the Iridium on, and this is on the round channel on cab A. So basically it's basically the exact same as what the Dream would be doing. So this is the Iridium's Fender 65. So, first thing I notice, that room feature on the Iridium, which I do have on, is immaculate. It makes or breaks this compared to the Dream. I would say before very minimal notices, you could probably tweak it to be exactly what you want. Obviously, we have, lots of cabs to go through on this. We have lots of cabs to go through on the Dream and so forth. I'm just comparing the stock ones on the Iridium compared to the stock ones on the UA Spark. And what I mean by stock is the matching cab to that, basically that amp. So obviously we could go through many more and it'll sound very different, but we're trying to see what the comparison would be like. So if I turn this room control right off, you're going to hear a huge difference right away. It's going to be super dry. So this is the room off. So, already, to me, whatever, very comparable, the Dream to the Iridium. So, let's now move to the Ruby. So, the Ruby is the Vox comparison of this amp. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the Ruby now. So, this is the Ruby stock sound, or as in the sound of what this is. So the blue mod cab, which is the stock one it comes up with. We are on the Brilliant channel, but everything is at basically right up the middle. So this is the Ruby. Sounds like a Vox. Nothing wrong with it. So let's compare it to the Iridium. So this is the one to me that is the most non-comparable in my opinion. So the Iridium is based on an AC30. The Ruby, to my opinion, is based on an AC15. I can tell the tonal differences. The Iridium has a lot more low end. And yes, you could probably tune the Ruby to do that. The Ruby has a lot more sizzle for that Voxy high-end sizzle. So even if I was to just go to the Ruby channel, I'm not sure if you can hear that, but there's already noise. So to me, the Iridium, I think, is the clear winner out of these two. Yes, the Ruby, you can go into the Ruby, you can say, if I can open it, you can say, hey, I want the Vibe Trem, I want the normal channel, I want the Brilliant channel. Yes, you have all three, and the Iridium technically, yes, only has the one channel. It doesn't have the vibrato tremolo. Is that a make or break to me? No, I can just use a vibrato pedal. So if I was going to choose my favorite Vox sound, which I own a Vox, so I know what it's supposed to sound like, I would choose the Iridium. We'll go through at the end with some higher gain sounds, or maybe some, maybe funner gain sounds. Not a high gain. I'm no maniac over here, but yeah, we'll do that, and you can tell me what you think. But so far, I would say the Fender sounds are very comparable. I wouldn't really be upset with either. The Vox sounds, the UA is a little sizzlier, and the Iridium, I would say, is a lot smoother sounding. So, okay, so let's go to the Lion. Instantly, I'm very happy with that tone. There is not much going on, so basically the channels have been jumped, like you would with any normal 68 Marshall. Obviously the Bright Cap mod is in, and the Ghost Note mod, which I don't know. Anyways, you can say, hey, the Iridium doesn't do that, but to me it should. You should have that ability. If you're going to even do anything close to a Marshall, you should have a Bright Cap mod, even if it's inside the Iridium and it's a little jumper switch or something. But anyways, you see presence is not on the Iridium, so it does make, a little bit of an effect. So I just have it at right up the middle there. Probably was, I'm hoping, taken into account with the Iridium design, but I'm not the one who designed it. Everything else right up the middle. Volume 2 is at 0, and then volume 1 is just basically at 2, just to turn it up a little bit. So now let's compare the Iridium and see what the comparison is like on this one. You know what would be helpful? If I put it on the Marshall channel. So if you were like, hey, that actually sounds pretty good, now it's going to sound even better. Okay, so here's my hot take on this one. Very small snippets that I'm giving you, but they're very important to listen to. All the little things, right? We could do a 16-hour thing on this, and I'm sure I would love to do that, but no one's got time to listen to me talk about that for 16 hours or even care. But the Iridium does not sound as good as the UA Lion. So, the Vox and the Iridium I thought sounded better. The Lion versus the Marshall in the Iridium, I think, is better. I think it has more growl to it. And, the Lion is barely on. Like, the amp's at 2. Like, obviously, it's different because on this we have a gain control and a volume control. And on the amp, we just have a volume control, which is very different, obviously, right? So, take it as a whatever you want. I don't even care. If you think my opinion's bad, if you think it sounds good, let me know. That'd be sweet. But yeah, so let's go through now and maybe, dial these to something that would be more usable. So, let's turn the reverb on the Dream, clicker on here. We don't need the vibrato, maybe we'll do a little more treble, a little more drive. And let's see what this is, and then we'll try to recreate it on the Iridium. So let's see what the Dream sounds like, a little more zesty. So to me, instantly, that sounds way better than just dry. We got a little bit of spring going on. The amp is just crunching a little more. I do find the volumes on the UA pedals seem to distort very quickly. You basically have to have the amp on like 2 or lower for most of the amps to get any sort of clean sound. So I'm not sure if that's me doing something wrong, but anyways, that's what I found. So very cool tone. I like that much better than just the flat tone. Now let's try the Ruby. Let's go, I don't know, we should go maybe to the Brilliant channel or the normal channel. What do you think? The vibe, I mean, we could do the vibe channel, but that's not the vibe I'm looking for. Let's just turn the amp up a little more. Let's cut the tone a little less so we get a little more high end, maybe a little more bass. Let's see what that's like. Okay, so we gotta get off that channel. It's so noisy. But anyways, it sounds better. It sounds better. But now let's do the Lion. Let's turn it up a little more. You know, so far the Ruby, whatever. It's fine. I'm nothing against, nothing for. Now let's see what the Marshall does. Let's turn the Marshall's presence up. Let's turn the mid up. Let's turn the treble up. You know, let's turn this into more of a Marshall sound. Let's turn the volume up. Let's see what we can get with this thing. Oh yeah, that, like, just out of the box, that's phenomenal. I'd use that tone every day. So, I mean, obviously we can turn these up way more. We can just blow them out of the water, but that's not what I'm going for here. So, okay, let's start in reverse order. So we'll start with the Marshall. We're on cab A. We'll leave the room kind of where it's at. Let's turn the drive up. Let's turn the bass down. We'll kind of do what we did with it. Turn the mids up. Turn the treble up. And let's see what the Iridium has to say. You know, also not bad, but it doesn't have that Marshall sizzle. Like, it's got the box. Like, it sounds like a Marshall in a box, because it is a Marshall in a box, but it doesn't sound like the Lion does. You know what I mean? And it's like, well, maybe the Marshall mods aren't exactly the same, but a Marshall is a Marshall, man. Like, if you want a Marshall sound, you know what you want. And to me, the Lion is the true winner. The Iridium is not bad, though. Like, not a bad tone in there. I'm not trying to say that it's bad. So, okay, let's go up to the Ruby. Maybe we'll bring the mids down a little bit because we don't want to die. We'll leave the drive where it's at. Maybe bring the bass up. And let's see what the Vox in a box sounds like. You know what? I'm still in love with that. Like, let's bring the volume down a little bit. Bring the drive up more, more drive. It's a Vox. Let's see what that does. Oh yeah, like super gnarly. Like, that's a Vox to me. And yeah, we could probably get that with the Ruby, but the Ruby is noisy. It's got so much fizzle going on because, you know, I don't know what sort of amp they were modeling after. Like, if it's some sort of capture, like, that amp needed to be replaced. Like, they picked the wrong amp to model, in my opinion. So, and now let's go to the Dream. So let's go up to the Fender. Probably a little less mid, more bass, more treble. We don't need that much gain. It's a Fender. And Oh, I just soloed it. You're just watching all the technical difficulties. But okay, so now let's do the Fender in the Iridium. I think we need a little more volume. So first thing I notice, the drive is very high compared to the Dream. There is no just master volume, so you've got a level and a drive, which is very handy in a pedal. So like, let's turn the drive up more, turn the volume down so we don't die, and let's see what that does. It's still nowhere near as gainy as the Dream was. And like, let's pull the Dream back up. Dream is at 2.5, and it's already blasting the speakers out. Like, it was way gainier, and I don't see why it needs to be that way. And yeah, I could probably go through and, you know, fiddle with things and try to get it to be different, but I don't have time for that. I don't want to spend 16 hours dialing an amp tone. I just did the Iridium in 5 seconds and it sounded great. So, what am I trying to say? The Iridium, great box. Put it on your pedal board, put it on your desk. You can take it to church, you can plug it in. You could take it to whatever gig you're playing, you can plug it into the front of the house. It's got a headphone input right here on the bottom. I can plug my headphones right into it. I don't need an interface. I don't need any. I just need to power it, plug my guitar into it, and I'm done. That's all I need for the Iridium. Now, what was I going to do with the UA pedals? So, if I had UA pedals, obviously, you know, I could do the same thing. I'm not sure if they have a headphone amp on them or not, but it's pretty easy to just plug a pedal into, you know, a set of headphones or whatever, or have some other pedal on your board that does that. And, you know, you could probably make that work. That's cool. And let's just say for now that they're basically the same pedal. Let's say it's the same cost to buy one pedal, or buy the Iridium. I could buy a Ruby that does one sound. Yes, it might be a Vox, and that might be really cool, and that might be what I want. But if I ever want, you know, the Fender or the Marshall sound, I then have to go out and buy a Lion and buy a Dream, and now I have all three. There's no need to have all three of them, because this does all of them. The Iridium does all three. Why would you buy all three and spend, you know, $399 US, or whatever that is in Canadian, $540 Canadian, on all three? And then say, you know, they've got, you know, there's other ones out there. There's I can't remember the names of them exactly, but they have like a high watt one, and they have a Dumble one, and they have, I think it's another Marshall one, and they have like a Tweed, and it's like, that's great. You can buy all those and you can play them. Or you can say, hey, I've got a Fender, I've got a Marshall, I've got a Vox. I can basically do whatever I want with them. I can plug them into my computer. I can play with them in the Strymon Nixie app, which might be another video too, actually. I like using that app a lot. And I don't think a lot of people know about it. But anyways, it can do everything I want it to. And, you know, to me, I can basically make those 3 amps sound like a lot of other things, at least for what I would need them to do. I don't need every single type of amp in a box. And if I did want it, I have something called the UA Spark subscription. So, this is not a sponsored video, even though you might think it is. But the UA Spark subscription is phenomenal, like I was saying earlier in the video. You can get, right now, you get these 3 amps. You get the Lion, the Ruby, the Dream. You also get the, whatever their brown one is. I can't remember it is, the name. But it's basically like a Tweed amp in a box. And it also sounds phenomenal. Oh, the Woodrow. That's what it's called. Yeah, thank you. You get those 3 amps, and they sound great. And you get, I think basically they're going to be adding all of their amps as they come out with the technology to do so. And that's great for $120 a year. It's all those amps in a box. You can play with them. It's super simple. You get all their compressors, all their, the Galaxy delay. You get reverbs. You get all sorts of things that you like to use when you're mixing or doing stuff at home. That's why I have it. I have it so that I have everything that I could need, and I don't need to plug any pedals in. If I'm somewhere where I don't have pedals, or I don't have the power requirements, or whatever it is, I can just plug right into my computer, and I'm off to the races. Now, this is the part of the video that you've all been waiting for. What would I pick? Let's say I had a budget of $300 or $350 or whatever I said the Iridium costs for. I could buy the Iridium, have the Iridium, take it with me to shows if I need to plug into the front house, take it with me to, a session or whatever if I'm, going to someone who doesn't have a space for amps or whatever, which is realistic these days. Not everybody can crank up an amp. I can basically bring it anywhere with me. I can put it on my pedal board. I can plug in anywhere with it. Or I can plug in with it at home, not need my laptop, not need my interface, not even need to plug anything in other than my headphones and my guitar and the power. That's it. That's phenomenal. And yes, I could maybe do that with a Dream pedal and a Ruby pedal and a Lion pedal. But used, let's say they're about the same price, it's 1 amp. That's all it is. So if one day I'm just like, I really don't want to sound like a Marshall today, like I'm doing, some gig where I just need something super clean and flat, I want a Fender amp. I don't have that. I have the Lion. That's what I've got to work with. And yeah, you could probably make it work for what you want. But it's the flexibility. The Iridium, when it first came out years ago, was this big thing on the scene, and people loved it. But now all this new technology is out there that says otherwise. I still think the Iridium is the greatest of all time amp and cab simulator. You can load cabs out of their Nixie app. I'm sure down the road they're going to have more amps. There might be a V2 of the Iridium that comes out. You've got bass, mid, treble. You've got this awesome room thing. So, let's just listen to this room on the Dream. So let's turn up the room to 3/4, and let's just listen to how this sounds. That sounds phenomenal. That's no reverb, but that is the reverb that you've always wanted. Just sounds like a hall. Sounds like a room. It sounds like a room reverb. Yeah, it might not be a spring reverb, but who cares? No one likes spring reverb. Okay, before I get lost on this tangent and this video becomes 40 minutes, what was this about? Why did I do this video to say, okay, you could have just done an Iridium video to say, hey, the Iridium's still great. Here's why. I wanted to compare it to something that is out there nowadays that's new. Spark's only been around for, I want to say, a year or two. And yes, it's getting updated all the time. And yes, it's very cheap and affordable. But I pay for my Spark subscription for 3 years, and I could have bought another Iridium. If I'm paying the Spark subscription just for the amps, it's not worth it. I'll just buy an Iridium because the Iridium is a one-time cost. I pay for it. I have it forever. Like I said, I don't just use the Spark for the amps. I use it for everything that they have, which is definitely worth it because Logic stock plugins are absolutely not great. I was going to say absolute trash, but they're okay. They're just not very good, in my opinion. But yeah, if you're going to use the UA Spark for just the amp, don't do that. You're going to have to plug, your guitar into your interface into your computer into, 7,000 different things, monitors, screens, whatever. You got to plug that all in. Then you got to fire it up. You got to build a Logic session or a GarageBand session or a Pro Tools session, or whatever the other one is, Luna, that UA does. Then you got to upload these things in. You got to play with them. And it's yeah, okay, I just spent 15 minutes getting that in, or I could have plugged into the Iridium in a minute and a half, wouldn't have been done. really depends on what your circumstances are. If you're someone who's just home and they have half an hour a night to practice, buy an Iridium. End of the day. Don't do anything else. Buy an Iridium. Can I say it anymore? Just buy an Iridium. If they're still out there, just buy one because it's 100% worth it. The price is never going to get any worse than this. I don't imagine I'm going to Josh Scott this and put their prices through the roof. They just sound good. They just sound good. There's nothing you can do to say that they don't sound good because they do. Yes, I might prefer the Lion over the Marshall sound in the Iridium because, it just has a little more zing to it. But I could probably dial that in. Or at the end of the day, I don't really care. It's the convenience factor for the Iridium for me. So, anyways, I've been Nick Pedersen. This has been the first voyage of my train of thoughts and the train that went off the track about 20 minutes ago. But I hope you enjoyed this. I will try to upload more videos if you guys like and subscribe. I'd always like to hear your comments, if you want to roast me and say that everything I'm saying makes absolutely no sense. If you want to say the audio is bad, that's fine too. I'm working on it, okay? So if you have any suggestions, let me know. But yeah, so I've been Nick Pedersen. This has been the Iridium versus the UA, Stream, Ruby, and Lion. And at the end of the day, if you want simple, you want good, you want classic, and you want easy to use tweakability, it's the Iridium. Strymon, call me, okay? Thanks. Have a good one, guys.